Good morning. How is the Saturday morning coming along? Thank you so much for joining us today on the Lifestyle Saturday right here at DGTV. My good name is Alice Wanjera Mwangi. Super excited today. We have an amazing show lined up for you. That is art and craft. And when I talk about art, we have this amazing, beautiful woman who is a spoken word artist. She shall be introducing herself just in a few. And of course, after this, we are going to learn how to make some of these beads that you see me wearing right now and how you can actually make them at the comfort of your home. So before that, please make sure that you talk to us on our social media handles. If you have any question for Natich, or if you want to learn more about bead making, please send in your question and I'll be so happy to sample some of them as we continue with the show. Karibu Natich, how are you?
I am fine. How are you?
I'm fine also. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah, so before we get even into anything, I want you to look at that camera and start, perform one of your favorite piece.
This is not a favorite, but it's very timely.
Okay.
Getting lost in his arms was my perfect suicide. It was the sweetest poison. It killed slowly but surely, constricting vessels and cracking knuckles. I left him. Then I craved him. If earth could stand still for a moment for me to steal a moment with him, I still would. I have died to see him severally, literally.
Wow, wow, wow. So, Natich, tell me the inspiration behind that spoken word.
This is actually addiction.
Okay.
The way you enjoy the moment doing something that is super wrong.
Yeah.
And then you stop and you're sure you are done with it, like completely done. But deep within, there's that longing for that same fix you felt at that particular time when you are indulging.
Yeah.
It's so much like sin, you know? You want to stop, you want to stop.
Yeah.
But then the allure of sin, that thrill that comes with it, it always draws you to it.
Yeah.
And you feel like you would die without having it, but then the reality is you won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personified addiction in that piece, and that's it, really, basically.
All right. So for someone who doesn't really understand or know about poetry, what is poetry according to you?
Poetry, according to me, is an expression. It is an expression that is pure. It is sincere. It is raw, very raw. You speak from depths that you sometimes don't even know you have. And then once you pen down those thoughts, there is a relief that comes with it. For me, that happens a lot because I write mostly from emotion. I am not a person who will just sit and write because it is routine, but I'm working on it. I'm told that a good writer is one who writes whether they are in the mood to write or not. But then I mostly write from pain or things that I don't understand. And once I've put my thoughts on paper, it feels so good.
Wow. So how or who introduced you to the poetry industry?
So in campus, there was a class leaving school. And then, I had a lot of friends in that class.
Yeah.
So I thought of what gift I'd give all of them. I was broke, man. In school, you don't have enough money to gift every friend that you have.
Yeah,
and so I remember thinking, let me give something to them that they may remember. So I sat down, wrote a piece for them, which I performed in church on the day that, the last Sabbath that we worshipped together. And from then on, it's just been a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, being told thank you. I resonated with what you said. Thank you. I'll carry those words with me as I as I go into the world. It was amazing for me.
All right. So for how long have you been in the spoken word industry? Did you start as a young kid? How was the journey?
Writing has always been easy for me. Well, in high school, primary school, you don't call it poetry per se, you just call it essays.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I remember.
So at that point, you're not sure that you're good at poetry, although you do well in those languages. But then now, being a grown up and doing poetry as something that I am intentional about, I'd say seriously after campus, which has been like 2 years now. Yeah.
All right. So what does it take to become, if anyone wants to become a great poet, what are some of the qualities should one have?
Be yourself.
Yeah.
There's always the temptation to want to be like somebody else. Like, for example, I look up to so many poets in the industry. I even recently found out or added to my list 2 more who were in the previous slam poetry competition that took place, I think 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And when you watch somebody else, you tend to feel like I should do my performances like this, and then you start sounding like them, but you're not them.
Oh yeah.
So for you to be a good poet, be yourself.
Yeah.
I remember watching one poet who was really, how do I put it, very solemn on stage, very soft spoken, and it was a competition. Can you imagine? People are there going up and down with intonations and struggling and showing emotion. He was very collected, and I loved that he was himself. Wow. Despite the pressure. So just be yourself. Number 2, if you're spiritual, pray. I believe poetry is a gift. It is a gift because it comes from the soul.
Yeah.
So pray. Ask God to help you form those words properly. Or ask Allah or the higher being that you believe in to help you really bring the message as it ought to be served or delivered. Last point I think is tap into the experiences that you have had. There's absolute truth in them, like amazing truth in them. All those experiences you go through, whether good or bad, they are a treasure from which you can write from. So those 3 for me would make you an outstanding poet, no matter where you're at and whatever time it might be.
All right. So I know that, I've watched you perform and you are really good at what you do, but I'm really eager to know, like, how was your first performance like?
Hey.
Should we go there?
Hey, I even feel the emotions coming back.
I know.
Do you know where it was? Hey, that was one of the performances I remember that made me think, hey, are you sure you want to be doing this? Be serious, okay? Look for your calling properly. So I attended a wedding. It was a friend's wedding, and then my mom is one of my greatest cheerleaders.
Wow.
She told me, hey, you cannot go there empty-handed. Go and perform a piece. And I remember I had the piece ready, but then the nerves. Oh man. You're thinking people have been invited, like over 300 people are going to be staring at you on stage. She really pushed me to go. And eventually I went. And I remember being given the microphone when they were signing the marriage certificate. I start and I remember only performing 2 lines and I froze. Now I'm looking at them and thinking, okay, these guys are...
You're such a disappointment.
That is the word.
Yeah,
that is the word.
I know.
I think... But the good thing was that the MC was also a friend, so he looked at me and realized, this one is lost. So I remember him saying, you will get the rest of the performance at the reception.
Wow.
I'm like, oh.
That was creative.
Okay. It was, but then you see, you keep thinking, I am a failure.
Yeah.
I messed it up big time, and no one will want to ever listen to me again.
Did you recover?
Yes.
How long did it take for you to recover? Yeah.
It was, if I'm right, it must have taken months.
Yeah.
Months. I did not write again. There's always that reminder in your head, you will mess it up again. Don't do it.
I know.
Do not do it. And so I believe the encouragements that you get from people telling you, just don't stop. Everyone that is great started from somewhere.
Yeah.
So there will always be failures, but then for you to get results, you have to keep at it.
Yeah.
And even the great ones still make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't notice.
Yes.
You know, you keep going because it's your piece. Even if you forget a stanza, we won't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get to deal with that, or how should someone who is going through the same? Because you know, at that point when you froze when you're performing, by the way, it's really demeaning. You know.
Yeah.
So how should someone, according to you, deal with such because you know people can even give up because of such a small mistake. So how should one deal with such a encounter?
I'm one advocate for feeling what you're feeling. It is valid.
Okay.
So when you're feeling,
I get it.
yeah, when you're feeling pain, you're feeling like you messed up. Okay, feel it. It is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. But then remember to get up after you're done realizing that you made a mistake there. Now stand up.
Yeah,
get up from that. Dress up. Show up.
Exactly.
You know? Because there is never any other way to go when you're down. It's only up.
It is true.
So you have to get up.
All right. So Natij, what is one of your favorite line that you've ever written? That you look back and you say, wow, did I write this one? Was this me? Do you have one? Because I have one that I had you speaking of. We shall be talking about that. But before that, I want to hear from you.
I have worked on different themes, but my favorite themes is love when I'm writing.
Oh, love, yeah.
But funny enough, I never write about good love or good love. I don't.
Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
It's a long story. We would need a whole other episode for that.
Oh, damn.
I'm kidding though. I realized that in the industry there are many people talking about love.
Yeah.
How they fell in love, how they fell out of love, but then there are many other types of stories that we don't talk about. Most, it's not young people only. Most human beings believe that one of the greatest connections they can have, which assures you of being with a person, is physical, or how do I put it, is intimacy, physical intimacy. But then that could not be further from the truth. You know, the way you want to keep someone by being with them intimately. It is not a guarantee. So
in fact, it's the last guarantee that you'll ever be guaranteed of. Yeah,
yes.
I know.
So that line is, so panties before the big party resulted in our parting.
Okay, parting.
Panties.
Okay, panties
before the big party resulted in our parting.
Wow.
So the big party, that is the wedding, where at least you're assured that someone has made a vow before God and man to always love you and be there for you. But then now if you decide to not follow that pattern that was given by God, like keep yourself until marriage and that sort of thing, it is never a guarantee that someone will stay. They'll still go if they want to go.
In fact, it is wrong.
Yeah.
Even according to God, that's wrong. Someone should wait until marriage. If someone really loves you, they will be willing to wait for you no matter what, right? Yeah. So Natij, before we get to wind up, because I see the time is really, I want to know, what is your best performance that you ever had, or which event did you ever attend and felt like, wow, today I did my best?
Well, that same piece you've talked about, that was the second time I was performing it.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So the first time I performed it was at a campus event. I was invited to Moi University West Campus, that is in Eldoret. I performed it. People liked it. People laughed. There was standing ovation.
Yeah.
I had fun most of all. Like it was not. I didn't feel the pressure of delivering. I was just having fun on stage, and the audience also loved it. And a lot of people could relate. So I felt like I had done myself proud. I had delivered a message that people understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Natich. But before we let you go, we have to listen to one of your, is it best? What are you going to be performing? What are you going to be performing? And before that, actually, could you advise someone who wants to get into the industry? You know, people say that, you know, spoken word is quite hard. There's no event somewhere out there. You know, you cannot even make money. What would you be your advice?
My advice is, no pointers for you. Number one, but reminders. I don't think there's an industry that is easy.
Yeah.
There isn't an industry out here that is easy. People working right now will still tell you they're not paid enough for what they do. So as you think of getting into the poetry world, remember that sometimes what you do will not be enough in the eyes of those to whom you're performing, but then it should be enough for you.
Yeah.
Also, money finds you when there's value.
Oh, nice.
Money will find you. And the input you give into something is usually equal to your output. If you really want this to be your source of income, you have to put in the work. There's a friend who tells me he has dedicated 40 minutes of his day to writing poetry and performing in his house.
Every single day? He performs to himself?
To himself.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He looks at himself with his expressions. He listens to himself 40 minutes daily. And surely, if you compare that person with, say, you, who writes once a month, if you go to an event together, it is almost a guarantee that this one will do better than you're doing. So put in the work. And then number 3, when you're called to deliver, there's a line a lady said when she was performing. She's called Chioniso, a poet from Zimbabwe. She said, I'm going to leave my heart on stage burning for you. Wow. Like, put your heart into it. And that's all that matters. Money will follow you by this value.
Yeah, true. So which piece are you going to be performing to us before we wind up?
Well, I said I love talking about love that is not expected.
It's not the boyfriend kind of?
No.
Oh, okay. It's okay?
Or, now let me talk about, yes, I'll talk about that love.
Okay.
Okay.
This is your camera.
Okay. Coming from church, I saw her in a ditch. She had drunk like a fish. I gathered as much. She spoke incoherently to herself with the demons in her top shelf that stayed after all the insults hurled at them. They, in turn, made her repeatedly scream. I didn't understand what was going on, but wished this were a bad dream. My mother had gotten herself drunk several times before, but this was more than more. She must have put the barman out of stock by emptying every water bottle from the docks. This was her, but not her. Doused in dust and mud from head to toe, she looked homeless, except she wasn't. Mrs. Tola had a home, or was it just a house to her? Her car was nowhere in sight, had no shoes on, and she reeked of adult urine. It was almost 8 p.m. and the streetlights couldn't have been any brighter. Her lace underwear showed from miles afar. I tried helping her up. In vain, had to call her husband to come to our aid. Watching my father take her home enraged me. She couldn't even walk. Tears fell freely as I watched her. because I am a splitting image of my mother, thinking of how many people looked at her and thought of me, asked me. How many times had we prayed for the woman to stop drinking only for her to sleep at the bar? How many times was she going to drink her entire salary? Why can she just stop? My father cleaned her up as best as he could and let her find sleep if she would. But she didn't. She wailed, talked, cursed, argued with him, and writhed in pain. I want to pack up and leave her behind. I want to run and never look back at the shame I've had to live with for years. But I love her with every fiber of my being, and I know she loves me too. Her love is in her breathlessness every time she hugs me or passes out in my arms. I walk around with her face, so we will face this face together.
Wow, thank you so much. That was so beautiful, and I love how calm you are when you're performing your pieces. You know, there are people who love shouting. I don't know what's, yeah, but that was really amazing. I think that is their own style, and you also have your own style, which you talked about, and that is really, really amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Lifestyle Saturday. So that is it. That was Natich on the Lifestyle Saturday on the segment of art and craft. And after this, actually, we're going to show you how to make some beads. If you want to know how you can make these kind of ornaments at your own home, please don't go anywhere, because we're going to take a very short commercial break, and when we come back, this is what we get to do.